The countdown to the midterms is on. President Trump ramping up the rhetoric against Democrats 5 weeks before Election Day. Yesterday, ahead of his rally in Mississippi, the president tweeted this: "The only reason to vote for a Democrat is if you are tired of winning." Then last night, he doubled down on that message, urging Americans to head to the polls this November.
5 weeks from today, all of this extraordinary progress is at stake. It is at stake. On November 6th, you will head to the polls, hopefully, in one of the most important congressional elections of our lifetime. The only reason to vote Democrat is if you are tired of winning. The Democrats are the party of crime, and that's what it is. They're the party of crime. All of the Democrats know, and all they really know how to do is obstruct, resist, demolish, destroy, and delay. And a vote for Republicans is a vote to reject the Democrat politics of anger, destruction, chaos.
Joining us right now is Emily Jashinsky. She is the Federalist commentary writer. Emily, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here this morning. We are really in countdown mode here. Your reaction to the president?
Yeah, hard to believe we're only 5 weeks away here, and I think it's really interesting he's building this narrative, and he's done this for a while, and it's not entirely unusual for presidents in midterms to try to raise the stakes, but he's really building this narrative that Democrats have become way too extreme, that, you know, this is the reason that you need to get motivated and get out to the polls is because the threat of the Democrats taking over control of the House, which is very possible, is so great. And so the reason that we're seeing this is because polling has showed that there could be a pretty serious enthusiasm gap that advantages Democrats, right? The president's approval rating is low. Democrats really can't stand him, so they're all going to get out to the polls and vote in big numbers, whereas Republicans might just be more content to sit at home. They don't have anything they're particularly excited about. And so where this narrative plays into is trying to address that enthusiasm gap, actually get people to the polls in states like North Dakota and states like Tennessee. So there's a clear strategy here, and it's not a bad strategy at all.
Well, when you say they can't stand him, you're right, but that's not a reason to impeach or take somebody out of office because you don't like them. The president might be right about all of that. I mean, the shaming and the throwing people out of restaurants, and, you know, the public shaming on social media, and the throwing out the window of due process. It's all impacting the voter right now, because a new Quinnipiac University poll finds that the GOP is, in fact, cutting into the Democratic lead that you mentioned. 42% of American voters support the Republican candidate in their local House race. That's up from 38% just last month. The Democratic lead is dwindling as well. It's now backed by just 49% of voters, and that's down from 52% in September. Take a look at the flip side. A majority of American voters say that they would prefer Democrats to win control of the Senate. What does that tell you, Emily?
Yeah, it's strange because actually the Senate is probably where Republicans are going to keep control or even make gains. The map is really favorable to Republicans in the Senate this cycle. What's interesting is that we do see those generic ballot leads kind of tightening. I'm going to be very curious to see how the Kavanaugh stuff plays into this, because you made such a good point that it is the throwing out of restaurant stuff. It's all of that, you know, extremism that people see that Trump is now tapping into and really using it to paint Democrats as this party of the extremes, this party of
how can you not paint them
incivility.
how can you not paint them that way? I mean,
They're
look
giving
what's
him
going on.
plenty of
It's
ammunition.
disgusting.
Yeah.
Go ahead, James.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, Emily, James Freeman at the Wall Street Journal. I wanted to ask you about that. You mentioned the Kavanaugh issue and you mentioned earlier the enthusiasm gap. Republicans have been worried all year about Democrats more eager to go to the polls. Has the treatment of Brett Kavanaugh changed that? Do you now have a highly motivated Republican base as a result?
Yeah, so listen, as someone who's on the conservative side and hears from a lot of conservatives, I actually do think we've seen, you know, probably what a lot of Democrats didn't anticipate exactly. It's just this incredible energy on the right of just complete anger and disgust at what has happened over the course of the Kavanaugh hearing. I think the average American, the average voter, is probably reacting to it in a way that favors Republicans. And absolutely, when we're talking about the enthusiasm gap, when we're talking about something that's going to raise the stakes for, you know, a suburban mother of a son to get out and vote, this could certainly be something that plays into it. So I'm curious to see where polling has us in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Emily, you know, history is also against the majority party in the House. And only 3 times since the Civil War have they actually made gains in terms of gaining seats. So I think history is against them. But I think if the Republicans actually hold the majority, that's a win in the midterms. And they make gains in the Senate as well.
If they hold on to the House, that'll be staggering. I mean, it would be a big surprise at this point if they hold on to the House. It might not be the bloodbath that people first thought it might be, but it'll be a big surprise if they manage to do it.
Well, what I find staggering is what's going on the left. I mean, that's staggering to me. The fact that it's okay to corner Jeff Flake in an elevator that's supposed to be an elevator for senators only, and rip into him and get into his face, and then later the person saying on Twitter, "This is why we do what we do. We got to get in people's faces." That's not right to get in people's faces like that, frankly. And it's not right to shame somebody online, and it's not right to kick them out of a restaurant. What are we doing?
I think the political consequences of the far left really starting to dominate the Democratic Party. It could be seen, especially in these Senate races. And, you know, this is being used in races like Wisconsin, Indiana, West Virginia. They're really trying to tie those senators to the far left because exactly like you're saying, people don't like it. They don't want to see it. They hate what's happening to the country when they see things like that.
Yeah.
So it could definitely get people to the polls.
And let's not forget President Obama just this week endorsed some of these extreme candidates like Alexandria Cortez.
Well, yeah, I think it's important to note that if most of the politicians that are obstructing or trying to incite violence, think Maxine Waters, are getting a lot of the airtime, and they're actually being praised for what they do. So as opposed to a politician saying, hey, we need to be very conscientious of how we're treating each other, we need to come to the middle, we need to come to an agreement, all the people that are on the far left that are inciting violence are being praised. And it's unfortunate, and so I think that's why you're seeing what's happening, because how do you get access to an elevator to yell at Jeff Flake? You have another political operative in there giving access.
Right,
so
it was all a strategy.
It's all a strategy.
And what about this? The University of Manchester is banning clapping and cheering at events. No more clapping. They're arguing that the loud noise might trigger those with anxiety.
Why are we showing Kevin?
Okay.
Loud
The university is suggesting to use jazz hands instead.
Oh, my
Do this.
goodness. Okay. Yeah. I'm blinking right now. Can you tell I'm clapping? This is ridiculous.
We've never had it so good, right? If clapping is an issue now, then society has come so far and done so well that we all should just take a
It's hilarious.
Sounds like a secret plot to destroy the live entertainment business. Can you imagine going to a concert, a sporting event,
and going like that?
Complete silence? I mean, let's drain all the excitement out of life.
I'm cracking up over this. Emily, what do you think?
I mean, of course, this is in the UK, but this is not out of line with all the stuff that we see on college campuses here. I'm not that far removed from college myself, and I actually had a hard time explaining to my parents when things would happen on campus. Like, they legitimately didn't believe me that the crazy stuff that I was seeing actually happened. I mean, this is one of the most undercovered stories, I think, of the past decade, is exactly how far left campuses have swung. It's not even left. I mean, they're past left into just complete crazy territory.
It's absolutely crazy territory. You're right. And it's like the day after Donald Trump won the presidency in all of these middle schools, you know, in all of these rich counties across the country, they were like, oh, go sit and no school today. Just relax. It's okay. Cry if you want to. I mean, it's outrageous. Come on. Did I get it right? Is this what it is?
I need to come on more often. This is
Google
great.
headquarters with that reaction?
There's that too. I mean, you're absolutely right. It happened at Google. Well, I don't know if it starts in media or it finishes in media, but they're driving the bus on some of this for sure. Yeah, they were crying at Google headquarters.
You know what's the saying? You have to be, if you're not a socialist when you're young, you have no heart. If you're a socialist when you're older, you have no head. So maybe that's a mantra on campuses these days.
Apparently. Emily, good to see you. Thank you so much for weighing in here. Some crazy stuff going on. Emily Jashinsky there.